Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Bootcamp 2020. In today's class, we'll be working with Contentful, and we'll create a data model there, and then we'll be working with how to integrate that into our Gatsby site. Do you guys want to add anything before we begin?
Yes, I wanted to add some things. Look, all my students, all our students, think about it. When we develop a website, Zeeshan, we are doing that for 10, 15 years, 20 years. The problem was that, Daniel, most of the content developers, which were not developers, but for example, the company executives used to give us some file either in PDF form or Word form, and we used to cut and paste in the website. The problem with that was we were not using WordPress. We have been developers all along. The problem with that was that even a minor change, they had to give another copy, and we didn't know where the change was. Then they used to tell us it's a huge, because we want to give access of the content direct to the content producer, and they are not going to be developers. So therefore, the whole idea of headless CMS came into being. Can somebody first explain what is a CMS? Then what is the difference between CMS and a headless CMS? Who is going to?
Any of us can go. I can start.
Yeah, go ahead.
So, in the traditional sense, we had the traditional content management systems, such as WordPress, which were used to create content and to also create the presentation. So it was a combination of content and the code. So it was all mixed together in one bucket, you could say. So it would have your data, your images, as well as the HTML and CSS. It would all be in one place, and that's like the synopsis of a traditional CMS. And then now with this headless CMS, there's a it takes away the presentation layer, so it removes the HTML and CSS from the data itself. So you create a data model of the actual data, and that's kept separately on the CMS or the headless CMS. And then using the API, you integrate that data into a presentation layer, which would have the HTML and CSS. You guys want to jump in on anything else to add?
Yes, exactly. You are right. Traditional CMS tools typically require the use of specific frameworks and languages, whereas headless CMS tools let developers whichever framework they want to use, they can use it.
Your mic is
Yes, sir, your mic is mute.
I think you're on mute.
Sir, yeah, your mic is mute.
Sorry, I thought you were tell. Zeeshan, would you like to add anything?
basically, they both have covered. With me? Okay. So mainly, if you try to understand the CMS, previously in traditional says, as Adil explained in WordPress, what we had is WordPress has an opinionated in terms of technology and in terms of how you use an CMS, because WordPress has at the client side the PHP, at the database, SQL, and everything is plugged or what you say in packaged in a single system, which Adil has explained. So if you want to create any website or any application, you have no other option if you go for the WordPress. So you have to stay with the PHP and the MySQL and all the tech provided by the WordPress. What headless CMS does is, headless CMS gives you freedom of choose. You can choose any client side framework, any server side, whatever you want to do and develop your application in whatever whichever framework you want. Like we have will discuss Contentful or any CMS, headless CMS. It gives you the UI at the what you say, the, let's say in case of Contentful gives you to UI to add data into Contentful, and then you can use whatever client side technology you want to use and whatever API libraries you want to use. You can do this by your own and just connect to data to your headless CMS. So that's why it's so beneficial in case of headless CMS, that you have a CMS, but you are not bound to a particular technology or framework, so that you have freedom to do whatever you want to do with your application.
Okay, thank you so much. Now, everybody has to understand that we are going to get data, get the content in Gatsby at build time. But it does not preclude, we can also get it on runtime. But at this stage, we are going to get the data at build time. You don't even have to have a headless CMS to get the data at build time. What you can do is, you can even have access of content from a database at build time. So therefore, the main thing is not the headless CMS. The main concept, as far as we are developers are concerned, that we are getting data at build time in Gatsby. And for example, somebody doesn't want to use headless CMS or CMS at all. Maybe they will create their own database, their own administrative admin GUI, get the data inside the database and pull it at the build time. So therefore, the main concept here and the main emphasis here is, of course, there is a separation of concerns. We are separating the code from the content. That's one objective. The second objective is to build that HTML at build time with drawing the data out of content CMS or any database or anywhere at build time. Adil, why don't you go ahead and stop step number
9.
Step number 9.
Step number 9.
Okay.
Good news is this morning, Zeeshan also constructed a Contentful application in step number 24 and pushed it. So therefore, if we have time, Zeeshan will go over step number 24 also, but we'll see. Depends on the time we have.
Okay. I'm going to have my screen shared here. Okay, can you see it?
Yes.
Okay, so this is Contentful here. I have created just like a dummy organization inside of here called Bootcamp 2020 just for this. And what we start off with is creating a space in which we'll be creating our content model. So here we'll have the option to add a new space. And here we select the type of space that we'll be creating. So right now, we just need we can work with the community space. So it has some other options as well. You have medium and large, which would be paid options, and they give you additional resources here. So you have multiple environments and more team roles and different locations. But we do have the content types here, and we get 25,000 records here in this free community space. So that's what we'll be starting with. And here we can just put a name for our space, and then the tutorial we were following, we can just come up with a name. So we can say blog space, and then this would be a empty space that we're working with. So we'll confirm this, and then we'll confirm the creation of the space. So once this is created, we'll be taken to the home of this space. And here we can access a few different things. So we'll start with the content model. So the content model is the way our data would be structured. And as we're working on a blog data model here, so we'll start with creating the type of content here. So we'll click on this add content type button. And inside of this, it asks us a couple of different fields here. So one, it asks for a name of what we're creating. So this is a blog post that we're creating. This gives a API identifier, does it automatically. Basically just concatenates the words together and makes it camel case. And here we can add a short description of what this content type is for. So here, this is going to be, this content type is for a blog post. And then we can create this type. And once we have done this, we have our content model started here with the uh, blog post type. And now inside of this, it's empty right now. So we need to create some fields to describe our blog post. So inside of here, we'll have the option to add a field. So we can, when we click add a field, it gives us a few different options to choose from. So we'll have rich text, which is text that's formatted with references, media. You'll have it formatted text basically. Then you have simple text, which is we can use for titles, for names, for simple paragraphs. Then we have the number type of a field, which we can use for IDs, order numbers, ratings, maybe a quantity. So any data that is represented by a number. Then we have the date and time field types, which would contain dates of events. In our case, we'll be adding a field for the time that a blog post is published. So we can have a date and time field for this. And we also have a location type, which would contain coordinates on a map, which would be the lat and long. In addition to these, we have a media field, which would be able to contain images, videos, other attachments like PDFs. Then we have a Boolean field, which is a yes or no, a 1 or 0, or a true or false. So out of two possible values, so like a yes or no Boolean. And then we have a JSON object, which would contain the data in a JSON format. And last, here we have a reference. So for example, a blog post can reference its author. So this would be like a reference to an external source. So out of these field options, we need to create a description of a blog post. So first we need the title of the blog post. So we can have a text field, and here we can have title. The field ID is created automatically using the same name here, and then we click create. And as you see here, inside of our blog post type, now we have a field that's called title, and it's a short text field. Continuing with this, to further describe a blog post, we actually need to have the content of the blog post. So that would be in the rich text type of field. So we can have a rich text field, and this would be the actual content of the blog post. So we can call it content, and then hit create. And then we can have another field here, which would be like a date and time. And this we can say publication date of when this blog post was published. So then we can create this. In addition, we can add more things. We can maybe add a media as well. Maybe we can have an image that goes along with the blog post. So, and this way you can create any fields that you need that would belong to a blog post. So this is good enough for now.
Adil,
Now,
basically what you are saying is you have defined the structure of the content
yeah.
at this stage.
Yeah, so every blog post would have a title, it would have a content of the actual blog, it would have a date when it was published, it would have an image that goes along with the content. And if we have other things that need to go into a blog post structure of it, then we can continue and add more information about the
So
structure.
therefore, at this stage, we have not created the content itself. It's just the
Right,
structure of the content.
right. So yeah, so this is the model of the content. And now we can save this. Um, yes, now it's saving. So here it says the content type has been saved successfully. Now what we can do is, once our structure is created, as you said, this does not include the content. So this is the structure of what a blog post would look like. Now we need to go and create an actual blog post. So for that, we can go to the content tab up here. So first we created a space, and then we created a model for the blog post. Now we can go to the content tab here, and this will show. Here we'll have like the different content types that we would create. So right now we just have the blog post content type. So it just has this one. And then here we can say add a blog post. So if you click this button, what happens is it will take us to a page where we can fill out a quick form and create a blog post. So we can give this a title that says first blog post or something like this. And I can say in the content, this is my first blog post, and then say like hello world. And then for a publication date, we can give today's date. And then if we want to give a time or not, we can have a timestamp here. So it's like hours and minutes. So I can say maybe 10:30. And then this gives you a time zone. I'll just leave it as it is. And then if you want to add an image, there's an image option here as well. If I click publish, now it said, before it was saying draft, now it says published. So this blog post has been created now. So if I come back to the content, it would show one entry found here. So my first blog post is here, and it's the status is showing as published. And if I again click on it, I can come back, maybe make some changes. And then it says changed, and then I can hit publish changes again, and then it would say published. So this is how we've created a space for our blog. We've created the blog post content type. We've created its structure, and now we've been able to use that structure to create a blog post. And then we can continue to create another blog post. So we come here, and then inside of this we can say second blog. And now in here we can say, now this is my second blog, and then publish this. So now I have, using the same content model of my blog post, now I've been able to create my first blog and my second blog, and now we can use this to create as many blog posts as needed. So now once the data has been created here, and this is the UI tool that the content creators would be using to create the actual content. And now what we need to do is, as a developer, we need to take this content and integrate it into our Gatsby site. So for this, we need to set up the API. So if we come here to settings, we have to create our API keys. So we can come down here into API, and we can add a new API key. And this API key is what Gatsby will use to authenticate the connection to this content model and access the data. So here we'll give a name. I'll just say blog API, and we can give a quick description. So this API is to access blog post data in Contentful. Now we have these two, we have three actually keys here. So one, we have the space ID, which would represent the space we're in. And then we have the delivery API, the content delivery API, which is our access token. And then we have a preview API as well. So the delivery API is for all the published data, and then the preview API is for anything that's even in the draft status. So we need to use the content delivery API to only show the published data, and then the space ID to let Contentful know like which blog space that we're accessing here. So we just want to save these into maybe text edit file here. So I'll have space ID and my content delivery. I'll just call it access token. Okay. So this will be coming in handy in our next step. So this API has been created. We have the name. We have saved the space and the content delivery API as well. And we'll save this. All right. So now that we've saved this API token, we can start working with our code and integrating this into our project. So if we come to our project, we can come and look at step 9 here. Inside of this, the first thing we would do is we would add Contentful as a source. So we would run this command npm install save Gatsby source Contentful, which would add Contentful as a source for Gatsby. And this has already been run in this project, so we don't need to execute this. And now, if we look at this project, we have the Gatsby config.js file. So if you look at it, and close this, you have the Gatsby source Contentful resolver here with two options being provided, one the space ID and the access token. So in the space ID, we'll be providing the value we just got from Contentful for the space ID. And then in the access token here, we'll have the access token like this. And we can save this now. And now we should be able to access the Contentful model from here. So if I come back and in the terminal, I can run Gatsby develop. It would open up, well, it should theoretically. Am I stuck here? Gatsby develop.
It initially takes time,
Yeah,
maybe.
just give it a minute maybe. There we go. What's it saying? Oh, okay. I know why this is. I had updated some code here in my pages file. Let me get rid of these things. Try again. There we go. Okay, so now it's working. Now we can open up this. So we can access the GraphQL Explorer here, and I'll get rid of this. So we can write a query to access the different content. This shows us all the different content available inside of Contentful. So right now we're working with the blog post. So we can access the all Contentful blog post. And inside of it, we can access the edges and the node, which would give us access to our content inside the content model. And if you look at this, we have the title here. So we can add the title. Maybe we run this, and it shows us both the first and the second blogs here. We can also get the publication date here. So it will show the publication date. Second blog, I guess I didn't add a publication date. And then for the content, we can go to the content and add content here, I guess, and run this. So now we have the name, the title, the publication date, and the content of both of the blog posts that I created. So here's our GraphQL query that we can use inside of the Gatsby application to get access to this data. So if we come back to our code now, we can go to the index file. So our index.tsx file here. First thing is to have our GraphQL query. So this has been pre-written here. So we can create a query. We've written the query here, and we just paste that in. So now our query object here, it's going to contain the title, the publication date, and the content inside of the edges.node. So if we look here inside the component, here it's returning from our data. So the data is being imported into this component. So we can access the data, and inside of the data we have this query. So we can get into the all Contentful blog post, access the edges. The index value here is figuring out which blog post. So this should return the first blog post that was created because it's at index 0, the node and the title. So if we now go back here, and instead of the GraphQL, maybe we can go to the actual page. So, so it's saying second blog. Let's try like this. So now I can access both of the blogs here. So I have access to both of the titles. And then I can, aside from the title, I can probably also add the publication date. So publication date for both of them. That. So it's showing both of these publication dates, and then I can also get the content. So instead of publication date, I would go to content, and then it's within dot content again. So now I can have all three information displayed. So you've got the blog, the content. So my second blog, it's got the dates. So all the content is now being fetched from Contentful. And this is happening, all of this is happening at build time. So when we build the site with Gatsby, all of this data would be queried from the GraphQL from Contentful, and it would be used to build the HTML page with Gatsby, and then you would have an output like this. So this is, yeah.
Adil,
Mm-hmm.
I want to add something here. You know how to format these things with the date time and the rich content. For the date time, for the rich content, we will go in the second step, but in the next step. But for the date, there's a very good library called Moment,
Okay.
Moment.js. You can format the dates with Moment.js. And for the rich content, we'll
Okay.
go over it in
Which
the
one you
next
saying? Moment?
step.
So I have to import it.
Moment. Import it.
First, you
We'll
also
do it
need
later
to
on. But
install the
just
Moment
import.
JS library.
Oh,
You
right,
can.
right. Do you want to do it now? I can Google it and get the code.
No,
Or
No,
yeah.
it will waste time. For the developers, it is a good enough
Also, Graph will
indication
provide the formatting
that.
when you query the date. You can provide the format of the date at that point, so it also helps us.
Mhm.
Right. So Daniel, you want to take over and get the rich text next?
Yes, first of all, I want to also add dynamic pages, and
Sure.
then I will share the Thursday repository for rich text.
Okay.
So
I'm gonna stop here and then you can take over.
you are going to push your code, or I just start with my code?
Do you want me to push it? I can push it as well.
I think Daniel, you can start with your code. There's not too much code.
Yeah.
Okay, okay, sir. Let me share my screen.
I just want to add one thing. Whatever we were seeing in GraphQL interface, it was because we have added the source in the plugin, GraphQL source in the plugin.
Yes.
Contentful, sir. You are talking about the Contentful plugin?
Yes.
Okay, yes, definitely. So first of all, what we need to do is just clear the code and run it first. Yes, as Sir Zishan said about the plugin, first of all, we need to install the Contentful to use in the Gatsby or anywhere. So using npm, I was unable to install Contentful. That was Sergey, you remember? Contentful we also stuck to when we are using npm. So we decided to start with yarn.
Yes.
Still,
Yes. Yes.
I just few minutes ago I installed Contentful using npm. Again, I was stuck. So if you guys are facing same problem, so install it using yarn. First of all, I'm going to Gatsby official site.
My problem is that I'm stuck with NPM in my mind. I think all of us should move to Yarn. It
Yes,
is now
exactly.
more advanced than NPM and more stable. Not more advanced, but more stable.
100%. Gatsby, get started. Is the tutorial docs. Yes, here you guys can see quick start plugin library. So first of all, you have to install the Contentful from here. Just search it Contentful, Gatsby source Contentful. Just go into the library. Just on this plugin. This is basically a plugin for Contentful. So just install npm install dash safe Gatsby source Contentful. As I said, I was stuck with npm. So what I use yarn add Gatsby dash source dash Contentful, and then once you done this configuration, just install the dependency first, then install this this piece of code. Write this piece of code. This is basically a configuration for Contentful, where you will write this plugin code here in the Gatsby dash config.js file. Here you guys can see this is basically a Contentful Gatsby Contentful source Gatsby source Contentful plugin configuration. Here is we have the space ID and access token, as Sir Adil have already shown you space ID and access token, how you guys can uh, take from the Contentful. You guys can take the Contentful API keys, space ID and access token from here, and just put it here. Then when you run the Gatsby develop command, you will be able to access this Contentful source code data in the Gatsby application. So right now, Adil has done this part. Now what I want to show you in this Gatsby-node.js file, as here in the query, anywhere in the pages, you guys can see here, I have this query, I have this query, and I can access the code and implement it accordingly what I want to do with the HTML pages. The major thing is how to create the dynamic pages. Whenever we are getting the data on this build time, we create with specific content and dynamic pages. So this is basically a little piece of code, exports dot create pages. I also, what I can do is, first of all I run it and then I show you the code. Just run this. Not, this page is basically created by dynamically. Now you guys can see here in this pages, here you guys can see in the pages 404 blog, index, product, student, but not these pages are there in my pages folder. Why? Because these pages are created dynamically. Whenever we get the data, here you guys can see in the slash products and then data.title. Here what I am doing as a slug, as a URL, I am passing the variable data.title, whatever I am getting from the Contentful. So what I do is to make it easy for you guys, I write the code again here. Exports, first of all, we need, as I have already mentioned, this is all provided by Contentful, sorry, Gatsby. So how we can do this? First of all, create the function, that should be the async function, arrow function, and from here we get two things, actions, and one is GraphQL and actions. Why we are getting, we have already talked about it in the last class. From here in the actions we will get the pages, constant create page, and here from the actions I will get the create page, and here what I will do, the result, whatever the query is, result is, and call the query first. Okay, now I'm going on GraphQL here, just close it everything and then it in the content model. I just show you a content type is a service. I have so many content type. I just show you one. Sorry, here content model. This one is service, and in this one I have a title and detail, two fields. So what I want to do is, I want to, if I have three items, let's suppose for the content, here one is, second one, third one. So how much we have the items in the Contentful, I want to create the pages according to that title. Let's suppose I just show you here. Here is, we have title. So whatever the title I get from the Contentful, I want to create a page with this name, whatever the name in the title. So what I will do is, first of all I have a query. So just go into the all contentful service, nodes and title, and just run it. Here is I have three items in the contentful mode in the contentful. With this, first one is bad, second one is iPhone, and third one is mobile. Just copy this query here and just paste it here in the GraphQL query section. And here I have to, because I have created the async function, so I have sorry, not here, here in the GraphQL. Okay, just console.
I just wanted to point out to everybody that this is covered in step number 12.
Okay, sir. Okay. So we have to cover this as well here.
Mhm.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, go ahead. Keep on going.
And here, what I just want to show you. Nothing. I'm not creating the page right now. Whatever the data I'm getting, I just print it in the console. So just check it. We are going right, or there is any error. Clear. So do Gatsby develop. Run this command. As we have already discussed, whenever we have to change in Gatsby-node.js file or in config file, we need to rewrite the server. There is one error. What is the error? All contentful unexpected name.
I think there is some problem with the brackets.
Oh yes, sir.
You have not mentioned query.
No. The query is not. I think I have to add in this libresis. Let's check it again, because I did some of this work above. I think the problem is just with curly braces. Let's check it again. It's working. Okay. I did not parse it, but it is working. Where it is? Yes, here is data result, and here is we have a result. So whatever the data we are getting from our contentful, on the basis of the data, we want to create the pages. So just call create page function. This is basically a function which we get it from the actions. Okay, and just pass it a function object. It takes an object. Here we have three things: path, component, and context. Context we have already discussed in the last class, that all the things we have already discussed. But just here is new thing is how we can create from contentful dynamic pages. Path. So here is we have to give the path. Let's suppose products. Whatever the products we are getting, I want to pass it here. Result. Sorry, because what I did here for one item, but here is we have a multiple items now. So how we can do? This is for one item. Let's suppose I want to create a page product slash bed. Now I know I have multiple items here in our contentful model. So what we will do? Definitely we need to run the loop here. So what I will do, result dot data, what I have getting it here, result dot data dot yes, then dot all contentful service, all contentful service dot nodes dot for each. Here we will just make it our loop. Where it is? Yes, here. Whatever the in the nodes, here is what we will do. We will get the array. Definitely we have multiple items, so definitely we will get the array. As I can show you here. Nodes slash title. So here is we have array of this nodes. So here we can use the for each for each for each. I think it is some camel guys. Okay, for each. Now here we can get the data one by one. Whatever the data I'm getting it here, I can log it. Now same thing, this process I will do it in this loop. Whatever the data we get, we can create the pages accordingly. So here now, no need to make hard coded. Here we will pass it a variable data dot title. Whatever the title we will get, if we have a multi three items, if we have a four items, if we have a five items, so this loop will print it out five times. So data dot title and component. So as you guys all know about path dot resolve, we need to import the path above const path and require path here. Okay. Now on the above I don't need this one now. Okay. Now I will do path dot resolve and just provide it the path here. Sorry. Dot slash where I have to go dot slash src slash templates slash hello.js. In hello.js template, there is nothing much. I just what I did, I just make it a arrow function here, and just as a props, I'm getting what I am sending from the Node.js file. I'm getting from here in the page context object, and just console.log this data. Nothing much. Now back to this template and context. We are passing the data. Whatever the property we can pass it here. We have to make it right. We can write the data here. We can write also whatever the detail. So we can get data in our component in this template with the name of detail. So standard is data, and also I'm importing it. I'm getting it in for each the data. So I'm also pushing this data in the context in this our template hello.js. So now let's run this code and hope it will work fine. Just I have to confirm the path src templates and hello.js. Now rerun the code and also check the path. Let's check this. Just check it. Reload the with wrong URL. I just put it. Just I want to see the pages. How much pages right now I have. Now you guys can see here. This products iPhone mobile. One more item. This is the beauty of Contentful. Now what I'm doing, I'm just creating it one more item. Let's suppose I have a e-commerce website, and developer has done development. Now the part is content manager. They just add the content, and whenever we will add the content, automatically in later steps we will learn how to CI/CD will implement. Using CI/CD, it will build the app again and it deploy it. Just I just want to add one more item here, one more inventory, as you can also say a table, and the text is table. Just publish it. Now I'm coming it here again and rewrite the server. As I have already said and Sarjia explained too many times, it's a build time, create the pages, just run it. Just come back it here, make it any wrong URL. So it will show the 404 page and you can see the pages here. So once it's done, then I will run it. You guys can see here 10 pages with this products slash table, and whenever I will go on this page, now you can see it here in the props, the data is related with that page. So the beauty is whatever the data is coming, we can pass it. Let's suppose I'm going back, clear the console, and now I'm clicking on iPhone. So the data is coming iPhone. So this is basically we can create now it here a detailed page for that product. So this is how we can create the dynamic pages in Gatsby using Contentful. Yes, sir. And
Yes. Yes. Go ahead. Sorry.
yes, yes. And also, okay, Mohammed Tayyab is saying I use npm to install source Contentful today in two projects working fine. Uh, you are very lucky, my friend Muhammad Tayyab. I face a lot of problem, and also I face the problem with rich text library. So I just it is very simple library for the rich text. I just explain it with this Sarjia step because I was getting few error before the class. Earlier it was working, but I don't know why it was not working. Sarjan, do you have working this rich text React render library? Did you try this? Your mic is mute.
Yes, yes.
So, do you have any project with rich text content? I installed it, but I was getting error. I think I need to again with Yarn. So, do you have any example with rich text?
I have just posted the one which Sarja has discussed, the Contentful step 24. So
Okay,
I
okay.
What
can
what we
you
will do
can
is what Daniel covered right now was step number 12, but we have
yes,
missed step number 10 and 11.
yes,
I just want to, Zeeshan, let's first explain
yes.
a little bit 10 and 11, and then we'll go to your
Mhm.
project, which is step number 24.
Okay, so should I directly explain with the step, or I can
First, let's
start
do
with?
it with the step, because it's much
Okay,
easier.
Yes.
yes. Okay, so
You don't have to just explain it because we will cover it in the project anyway.
yes, yes. So let me share my screen first, and then
Right now, we are trying to do step number 10, how to fetch data and show rich text in
yes.
Gatsby from Contentful.
Okay. So for step number 10, what you need to understand is basically whenever you are creating a contentful, whenever you are using a contentful and you create a rich text. So rich text means it has a bold, it has a link, it has italic value. So you have a HTML content, or you have a content which contains some what you say bold, italic, and kind of or links, all these things. When, as Adil and Daniyal displayed you the code, when Adil was showing it, so it was coming as a JSON objects. There was a curly bracket, a square bracket, and a lot of other things. But what you need to do is you need to display them as an HTML or as a what you say formatted text. So for that, what we have, Gatsby provides us a library called Rich Text React Renderer, Contentful / Rich Text React Renderer. Once you have, first you have to install it, and once you install it in the Gatsby, it, has anyone seen something? Okay. So
Yes.
once you have installed it, it's part of your project, and what you need to do is in wherever you want to use this rich text, you just import it. It gives you the component, it gives you the function name document to React component. This document to React component does all the formatting, and it will when wherever you will use in your React application, it will format the text and display as it should be. So bold content should stay bold, link should display as a link. So just call this import this function document to React component, and here you, as you can see, document to React component, inside that we are passing whatever the rich text we are receiving. So we have created a rich text on a Contentful, and that rich text contain bold, italic, links, or whatever formatting the HTML content should display like this. For to display them inside your React or your website, you need to have a proper formatting. For that, as I mentioned, Contentful library, and then you will call this function and pass the data. So whatever data you will pass, that will display inside this div as a proper formatting with bold, italic, links, all those things will be appear over here. So that's what I'll show you in the project as well. So that's what formatting does for the React. And for the step 11, what we need to do is we need to first understand that in the step, let's say in step 10, 9 or 10, what we does is we have provided the, in Gatsby config, we have created the resolve for sourceful contentful, and then options. So whenever you want to connect your Gatsby application to a Contentful, you need to connect with the library or plugin called Gatsby Sourceful Content. So it will connect to the Contentful, but with which space and access token. So you need to provide that space and access token over here. Like at this moment, let me copy from here. So in our case, we'll be using like this, as Adil has also done. But the problem is, if you done with the code and you need to push that code. To push that code, this space ID and token will be exposed on a GitHub as a public. If you are using a public repo, so it will be exposed on a GitHub and anyone can use it. Even if you have a private repository, even then it should not be shared. These type of tokens, access tokens, space IDs, they should not be part of a Git your Git project or your repository. So what you need to do is you need to create an environment variable. So whenever you try build the project, it pick these values and pass over here, and then you can uh, work on it. So for that, what we need to do is we need to first we need to install a library called just a moment.
We can use .env, sir. I think it's
Dot
a bit
env. Yes,
.env.
it is. Okay, so you need to install .env library, .env, and yarn add .env, and inside the config file, what we are going to do is we are going to import .env. And if you create at this moment, this project does not have any environment variable. What we will do is we'll create .env file. .env file. It's an environment variable file, and inside that file we need to provide values like this. Okay, and whatever the values I was providing for the contentful, so I'll add these values over here. Now, we have created a file named .env. We have imported, installed the .env JSON file. This .env file will not be part of your project repository. You will add it in gitignore. So gitignore, it will not be a part of your repository. It will be only on a developer machine. And when you want to access it, you call .env require and you call .env.config. What it will do is it will look for your project and it will look for the .env file, and it will have these IDs over here. These IDs will be available to you inside process.env.contentful. So you can see the name is contentful.space ID. I'll say ABC. So it will be available as process.env.abc. So whatever name you want to give it. So that's how, and when you start to build the application, it will go to the .env file, pick those values and replace them here. So it will only be at the runtime, at the build time, and it will not be part of your repo. So it's very beneficial whenever you are creating you are developing a client-side application, and you need some variables or environment variables at the build time. So it does this way.
And you have to also add it
So
in
these are the
the
two
dot
steps which,
gitignore. Dishan, you have to add
yes,
it in
in
gitignore.
gitignore, what you can do is, yes,
Yes.
yeah, and okay, yes. So what you can do is in gitignore, you will add the file name .env. So as if you have mentioned .env, then it will Git will not show you this file to commit or anything because you have provided it in the gitignore. So .env and the .env library directly by default consider try to find .env file. So it should be on your development machine, and because it's in gitignore, it will not be part of your repo. So whenever you build this application, you will have those environment variable, but it will not be part of your repository.
So therefore, we have completed step number 9, 10, 11, 12.
And 12.
Now we will go to the project done by Zeeshan in step number 24. Zeeshan, take over, please.
Yes. Okay, so for the step 24, basically what I tried to, as Adil has explained, as Daniyal has explained, the basic concept is similar, that we need to create a block site, and it covers all those steps which we have covered in component, subcomponent, style, scope, how to fetch the data, how to create dynamic pages. So it covers all those steps. And I'm hearing myself again.
Yes, we can hear you.
Zeeshan, go ahead.
Okay. Yes. So what I did is it covers all those steps which we have done till to step 12. So let me first show you that uh, I have created the um, contentful. It's taking time to load. Just let's forget about it. It's similar as Adil has showed us that we create a content, we add the title, the body, and the publish date. All these things have been added into the Contentful, and then what we did is created a page which will load the query from the Contentful. It asks for the ID, title, slug, publish date, image, and the a small content so that you can show at the list of page, and we build the page based on those lists. So first we are fetching all the content. So we have a multiple blog post. These things have been already explained by Adil and Daniel, so I'm not going into explaining these. Edge is map, and we display the title, then post date. So we have list of blogs and in our homepage, and one you click on that page. So you need to understand, as we have seen a moment before, that we have a multiple blogs in our content. What we need to do is, we at the build time we need to create pages. So for that we have a template and we have a node. What we need to do here is we need to pick all those blog posts from the Contentful and then iterate over it and display those pages. So it will create pages based on slugs, as we have discussed, as Daniel has explained us. So that's what it does. It creates the pages. So all these things are similar, and I have also used the what you say data renderer over here, and for that we need to configure transform sharp. Yes, the plugin sharp for the image and transform sharp, and for based on that what we can do is we can display images and what you say content into that. Once you are done with this, all these steps are as we have learned in our what you say steps. The only difference is SEO. It is being provided also. Whenever you create a default project, it gives you the SEO. So all your pages have those title, and whenever you go to whichever page you go, it should be a SEO friendly. So you can provide the URL directly to on Facebook or in whatever page you want. The important thing is what I did is I integrated it with Netlify directly. So you can see whenever you want to integrate your website with Netlify, just click on new site. It will ask for the GitHub access because I have already been I have authorized this. So you can pick your repository. It will ask for the master. It will ask for the build command. So Netlify itself identified if your project runs with Gatsby or the React directly. So you can provide the command here. At this moment, because this repository is empty. That's why Netlify didn't identify. Otherwise, Netlify do it itself. So it says that whenever you want to build the application, you will call the Gatsby build, and then you whatever inside the public directory, you should publish it. So I have already done these steps. That's why it will have I have this repo.
Sir, you are disconnected, I think. I cannot hear you.
I also cannot hear you, Zeeshan, but I think Daniel, we were finished with the
But just
project.
one more thing, I want to add, then we can finish the class. I also faced again with the npm the renderer library issue, and I just run with yarn. It is working perfectly. So nothing with this at step 10. I just install it, and just one more thing, just get the data, whatever the data you have in detailed rich text, and just call the library like this: import document to react components at the react component rich text renderer. And as Zeeshan explained, rich text gives us multiple things, bold text and so many other things with html elements. Just call the data here using this json in the document to react component function, and just run it. It will work perfectly. If you guys also face again npm issue, so you can use yarn, because I was facing some problem with the npm. So this is our rich text. I think it's all done.
Okay. Everybody, thank you so much. In the next class, we will start going in Netlify and how to use Netlify functions, and which are basically AWS Lambda functions and so on. In the next class, we will start with step number 15. Sorry, 14.
14.
And we will start with step number 14 and go from there. Thank you so much. And everybody, see you guys. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye.
See you. Bye.